Years ago, a homeless man named Sam reached out to a local veterinarian, desperate to save his loyal companion, Rusty. But the vet, Dr. Anderson, coldly turned him away, leaving Sam heartbroken and helpless. Little did Dr. Anderson know that his refusal would come back to haunt him in the most unexpected way. Now, as Dr. Anderson stared at the sight before him, he couldn't help but feel a sense of regret for his past decision. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't. And hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. Dr. Anderson couldn't believe his eyes when he walked out of the veterinarian clinic. His shift was over, and he was on his way to his car when he suddenly heard someone yell his name from behind. When he turned around, he knew exactly who he was looking at. Rusty and Sam were standing behind him, looking better than ever. Rusty barked at Dr. Anderson as he and Sam slowly walked in his direction. "Remember us?" Sam angrily said. Dr. Anderson didn't know what to say. He had thought about the day he first encountered Sam and Rusty almost every day, unable to let it go. What are you doing here?" he eventually said in return. "You don't remember us?" Sam pressed again. Unlike Dr. Anderson, Sam still remembered the day like it was yesterday. It was the day that changed his life forever. His dog had gotten very sick overnight, having slept in the pouring rain with no roof over their heads. Sam desperately sought help, asking strangers on the street. When no one seemed to know how to help him, he turned to the closest veterinarian clinic he could find. I need help," Sam stuttered, defeated. His eyes filled with tears as he placed Rusty on the counter. "Please, can you help my dog?" The man behind the counter was veterinarian Dr. Anderson, who had just come out of the operating room, checking the bookings for today. "Do you have an appointment?" he asked him coldly. Sam shook his head, tears now streaming down his face. "Please, I don't know what to do. He's so sick." Dr. Anderson sighed and looked at the dog. "I'm sorry, but we're fully booked for today. I can't help you." Then, he walked back to the treatment rooms and called in the next patient. Feeling defeated, Sam picked up Rusty again. He felt hopeless and frustrated that no one wanted to help him. Was it only because of how he looked? Sam had never cried this much before. Yes, he had lost everything he loved: his house, his job, even his wife. As Sam sat there, someone opened the door from across the street. It was a young woman who had noticed Sam's plea for help. She ran to Sam and asked him what was going on. She was a veterinarian in training, so she couldn't do as much as Dr. Anderson could have done. But with her help, Rusty began to get better again. Sam came by her house every day with Rusty so she could do her thing and make Rusty better again. As Sam waited for the treatment to be over, he stared out the window at the veterinarian clinic across the street. He felt anger and frustration toward Dr. Anderson, and he wanted to make sure he regretted his decision of not treating Rusty for the rest of his life. As he stood in the woman's living room, contemplating his revenge, he was suddenly awakened from his thoughts by Rusty playfully jumping up at him. "Oh my goodness," Sam sighed. "He looks even better than before." He hugged his dog and laughed out loud. "How can I ever repay you?" he asked the woman. She shook her head. "You don't have to. Just promise me that you will look out for him and come to me directly whenever he starts to feel sick again." She smiled. He smiled at the ground. "All right, we'll head out now. Thank you again, Haley," he said as he put a leash on Rusty. They walked outside, and Haley waved him goodbye. As soon as she closed the door, Sam let out a big sigh. Then, he noticed the veterinarian clinic again, and his feelings of happiness and relief were quickly replaced with frustration and anger. Why did Dr. Anderson refuse to help Rusty when he was clearly in need? Was it really because he was fully booked that day? Sam just couldn't wrap his head around. He had to figure out a way to make Dr. Anderson regret his decision. He wanted to stay away from violence, so he had to think of something else. The following days, he devoted himself to his plan to get back at Dr. Anderson. Because he had no recourses of his own, like a computer, he decided to tell Haley about his plan. She was a bit confused at first, but later realized how badly he wanted to do so, she agreed to help. They spent the following days by each other's sides, plotting their plan against Dr. Anderson. Their quest led them to old town libraries, combing through stacks of dusty papers, magazines, and even a few long-forgotten diaries that somehow connected to the veterinarian. "There's a story here, Sam. We just have to find it." They were struck by a discovery in an old town newspaper. There, amidst faded photographs, was Dr. Anderson in his younger years, smiling broadly beside a rescued dog. The article was dated years back and talked about how Dr. Anderson had volunteered at animal shelters, treating injured animals, many of whom were on the brink of death. "He was a local hero," Haley murmured, tracing the words with her finger. How did he go from this to? The doctor was deeply passionate about his work. Something must have happened. Their search led them to a time frame. There was a gap in the articles about Dr. Anderson, almost as if he had vanished for a while. "Look at this," Haley said, pointing at an article dated a year after his last known achievement. The article was about the clinic, but Dr. Anderson was mentioned in passing. His name was linked with words like withdrawn, cold, and distant. "This is around the time something changed," Haley whispered, her finger circling the date. A mixed storm of feelings welled up inside Sam. The empathy that rose within him for Dr. Anderson's pain conflicted sharply with his still fresh anger. How could he let his own pain blind him to Rusty's suffering? As the friends left the cafe, Sam and Haley sat in contemplative silence. The pieces of the puzzle were slowly fitting together. They hesitated, then took a deep breath, her gaze fixed on the table. "Sam," she began, "I've been to Dr. Anderson's clinic before, years ago. I was driving the car." Her voice wavered, and Sam stared, realization dawning about the depth of Haley's connection to Dr. Anderson's pain. Dr. Anderson's clinic was the ideal place for a novice like her. Dr. Anderson was then at the pinnacle of his career, known for his compassion and expertise. Haley remembered him saving countless animals, his clinic buzzing with life and hope. For Haley, Dr. Anderson was a role model. She admired his dedication and the way he treated every animal as if it were his own. One winter morning, a distraught owner rushed in with a limping cat. The cat had frostbite. Haley expected Dr. Anderson to spring into action, but he barely glanced at the pet. "It's just a cat," he'd muttered. Shocked, Haley took charge, ensuring the cat received care. But the incident was a stark reminder of the man Dr. Anderson was becoming. When she handed Dr. Anderson her resignation, his eyes were vacant. He was once a great vet. Maybe, just maybe, there's a way to bring him back. The room was filled with scribbled notes, half-eaten snacks, and coffee stain. News of their ambitious endeavor spread like wildfire. While the essence of their plan remained a well-guarded secret, the town buzzed with speculation. Posters started appearing around town, hinting at a grand event. The designs were ambiguous, but depicted a community coming together. Hands joined in unity. While no direct mention was made about Dr. Anderson, those who knew the backstory could read between the lines. The event's promise was clear: transformation, healing, and community. With each passing day, the event's foundation grew stronger, and their hope for Dr. Anderson's transformation grew brighter. Haley's phone was constantly abuzz, her contacts list becoming an invaluable asset. At the town's central square, Sam took to the makeshift stage, his voice thick with emotion. He recounted the journey he and Rusty had been on, painting a vivid picture of the trials and joys they'd shared. As he spoke, a hush settled over the crowd, with many wiping away tears. It was clear, Rusty wasn't just Sam's dog. He was the town's mask. Following Sam's heartfelt tale, an incredible surge of unity swept through the community. People approached the duo with offers of help, some sharing their own stories of Dr. Anderson's past kindness. As the stars appeared, the duo took a moment to absorb the scene, their determination unwavering, and hope burning bright for what the next day would bring. The bell jingled sharply as Sam pushed open the clinic door. causing a few heads to turn his way. His steps were resolute, each echoing his unwavering intent. Dr. Anderson, mid-consultation, glanced up. The sight of Sam momentarily stole his composure. Past conversations, decisions made, and emotions felt. It all came rushing back. Breaking the stillness, Sam reached into his bag, pulling out a crisp envelope. Without a word, he placed it on the clinic's counter. "These are for you," Sam said, his voice steady but laden with emotion. Hesitant fingers opened the envelope. As each photo slid out, it seemed to bring with it a fragment of a time long gone. There was young Dr. Anderson, his face bright, helping an injured bird. Another showed him laughing with a team of fellow volunteers. "Why are you showing me these?" Dr. Anderson finally whispered. His voice choked. Sam leaned forward, his intensity undiminished. "To remind you," he began, "of the man you once were, of the lives you touched. This town remembers. It's time you did too." The challenge hung in the air, a silent plea for the man buried beneath the years to resurface. Reflections of his younger self contrasted sharply with the man in the mirror. How had he drifted so far from that eager, compassionate vet who once dreamt of making a difference? Meanwhile, a hum of voices grew louder outside. Shadows cast by a gathering crowd danced on the clinic's frosted windows. Standing atop a makeshift platform, Haley took a deep breath. "I worked under Dr. Anderson," she began, her voice strong yet filled with emotion. "I saw a man of immense dedication, but also a man who lost his way." Her anecdotes painted a picture of contrasting memories, of lessons learned and hopes dashed. Back inside, Dr. Anderson's eyes were glued to Haley through the window. Each word, each story, chipped away at his defenses. Tears pooled, blurring his vision, as regret and longing for a time gone by welled up. The realization of his coldness, contrasted with the warmth of the community's hopes, was a heavy burden. Emerging from the clinic, he faced the crowd, tears streaking his face. "I lost my way," he admitted, voice trembling. "But with your help, I promise to find it again." The square echoed with applause, a town's collective sigh of relief. Dr. Anderson's revival didn't end there. Recognizing the potential in young minds, he proposed another initiative. "I'm offering mentorship to young, aspiring veterinarians," he shared, the passion evident in his eyes. His intent was clear: to pass on the vast knowledge and experiences he'd accumulated over the years, ensuring the next generation was well-equipped. Amidst all the changes, Haley and Dr. Anderson found common ground. Their previous disagreements and misunderstandings seemed trivial in the light of the clinic's rejuvenated purpose. Mutual respect blossomed, and a silent acknowledgement passed between them. Both recognized the importance of the role they played in catalyzing this change. The town, which had once been divided by misunderstandings, now stood united. The shared mission of compassion and understanding had brought them together, proving that unity was strength. As twilight bathed the town in a soft golden hue, hope seemed tangible. People chatted animatedly, animals played, and laughter filled the air. In the end, the tale wasn't just about a vet rediscovering his passion. It was a testament to the transformative power of empathy, patience, and second chances. And as the final page turned, the message was clear: love, understanding, and perseverance could indeed mend fractured paths.